Hello and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. This is a special episode, though. Happy Thursday, Julian.
Yeah, happy Thursday. And if you're American, which Trace and I are, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. That's so kind of you. Yeah, today, this week, is Thanksgiving. And we're recording this to tell you that we decided to take a little break. Just to hang out with our families and be present and not podcasting on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, let Kyle out of his editing dungeon for a little bit.
Yeah, he threatened us. We didn't want to do
mutiny.
it.
He was like, I'm going to not edit you, and people will hear just how dumb you guys are.
And we decided, no, please, no.
We decided that he actually might hold all the power, and we don't. So we relented. But no, we decided to take a little break. But we appreciate that not everybody listening, wants to take a break. Maybe you've got a lot of dishes to wash. Maybe you've got, family that you don't want to talk to very much, or show them something cool and fun, like a silly episode about a science show. So we're still going to put a podcast episode in your feed. We decided we're going to air an old episode that we love, but not a lot of people heard.
Ali Mattu and the Missing Moon.
Oh, it's nice.
When you hear this sound, ring, turn the page. Did you ever have those books? Anyway.
They were great books.
We're going to rerun pod number 6 with our bestest friend, Dr. Ali Mattu, who came on to answer the question, can robots love?
Mm-hmm. Trace and I also answered 2 great questions. Trace answered a question about the placenta, and me about what would happen if the moon went missing.
We picked this one not just because it's fun and we really like this episode, and I learned a lot about placentas, which are fascinating.
Yeah, and not a baby sack is what I learned.
Yeah, well, Julian learned even more than I did, which was really fun. But we also picked it because it was a really early episode. It was in episode 6. There weren't nearly as many listeners as we have now, so we thought you would enjoy it. Maybe you haven't heard it if you haven't listened all the way through the back catalog. So enjoy the episode. Enjoy this Thursday. And if you have heard it, listen to it again. Tell us what you think. See how much we've changed if we have it all.
I think my voice got sexier, so that's good. Yeah. Ooh, Kyle, you know what to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby.
Anyway, here's the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. I am one of your 2 hosts, Julian Huguet.
I'm your other host, Trace Dominguez.
Yeah, we never settled on host or co-host or what's the proper terminology. And joining us for this episode, we have a very special guest. He's a YouTuber and a Dr. Ali Mattu. Welcome. Thank you for having the time to come by and be a part of this nonsense.
Oh, I love a little nonsense in the morning or, afternoon, evening. It's always a good time for nonsense.
Yeah, the advantage of a podcast. You can have nonsense at any time of the day.
Also, they don't know what time it is, so we can be like, wow, oh, geez, just woke up. Just rolled out of bed. Here I am, everybody.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This, again, is the show where we take absurd, silly questions that have crossed our mind when we're out and about or in the shower or wherever we may be when an odd thought hits us, and then we assign it to one of the other hosts. They have to go away, research it, come back, and answer our ridiculous question. So, starting off this episode, Trace, I believe you are taking the lead with our first silly question.
Oh, this is such a good question. I'm really excited about it. The question is, what happened to placentas and umbilical cords in the past? Like ancient people, what did they do with them? And this question came from Ali. So Ali, tell me, how did you come up with this?
All right. So, I got two kids, right? So I have seen
they are your own, right? You didn't take them.
Confirmed.
I got 2.
I got 2 kids. Sounds like I just went out and took them. Okay, I have to make sure.
I've acquired children.
If it comes out later that they were not originally yours and we had you on the show, we're gonna look really bad. Like, why did you not ask? So I have to be sure.
Our director of communications over here.
Okay, good. That's established. So Ali has in his possession 2 children.
I've produced 2 offspring.
Whoa, wow.
I can confirm.
Co-produced. Let's not take too much credit.
We never settled on if it's produced or co-produced. We did.
Who's the executive producer? That's what I need to know.
He had the seed funding.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, so I have seen placentas. I have seen umbilical cords. I have cut one of them with my son, who's now 1 year old. And so, I was thinking after I cut his umbilical cord, I was like, what did old timey humans do? They didn't have all this fancy stuff. Did they know to remove it? Were they just like, we'll let this like long thing hang out for a while. It'll eventually fall out. And I was literally thinking about this in the shower one day because I was cleaning my belly button, and I was like, oh man, what belly buttons, they're weird. And so like what was this like for old-timey humans? I also think when you have a newborn baby, no one tells you that this like other strand of the umbilical cord is just gonna like hang there for a few weeks. And you know what doctors say? They're like, yeah, it'll eventually just fall off. Like, don't worry about it.
You're laissez-faire about the whole...
Yeah, they actually really are. As someone with one co-produced child, I like to say I made a contribution. People are like, he's so cute. And I'm like, you know what? I just like showed up, I put an investment in, and then they went and built the company, and it's great. That's it. But yeah, they don't. They're just like, oh yeah, and then it'll fall off. And you're like, but what do I do with it? Because it's just sticking
it'll
out there.
slowly decay, and it'll start to smell bad and look really gross, and then it's gonna fall off. And this seems so primordial to me. I've always wondered, like, what? Well, I haven't always wondered. I've wondered since recently, since thinking about this stuff. Like, what was it like?
This is all very informative. As somebody with no children that I'm aware of, like, this is all very helpful. So,
yeah, actually, that was going to be... So, I'm going to answer this question.
Okay?
We're going to go through it. There's some really cool stuff here. We get, like, ancient humans. We got animals. We got all sorts of stuff that we're going to talk about.
Love it.
But I wanted to pose to the only... as far as we know, person here without children, Julian.
Yes.
Do you know what an umbilical cord and placenta are?
I think so, but I feel like this is about to be those like Jimmy Kimmel segments where people on the street actually have no clue about anything. So this could be humbling, but I think so. Do you want me to take a stab at it?
Yeah, give me like a short, like a 2 lines. What is an umbilical cord? What is a placenta?
So umbilical cord transfers vital like nutrients and antibodies to like a developing fetus from the mother. And a placenta is like a sack that the baby's growing in.
The baby sack, yes.
the baby sack.
No, I don't know. I've never thought very carefully about what a placenta is, if I'm honest.
I honestly think... Well,
then the baby comes out of the butt. Right? Did I nail that? I think I nailed that.
You nailed it, bud. That was perfect. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that. I did
so
mean to put you on the spot. But I do think most people are probably in the same boat as you. If they haven't been in the room with those two things, they probably don't know that much about it. And maybe if they have been in the room, they might not. I, like Ali, also was in the room, saw the placenta. It's weird looking. I cut the umbilical cord for my kid.
What was that like, Trace?
Tell us.
This is the only word that I can describe.
Wait.
And Ali, please tell me if this is how you feel as well. What, Julian?
I'm just imagining when you're like, I cut the umbilical cord. Do you want to guess what it's like? You're going to describe it like a mall opening with like some golden scissors, like a ribbon. I declare this baby born, and then you cut it.
Yeah, maybe for my second kid I'll do that. That's a great idea.
Okay, well, what was it like?
Chewy.
I was gonna say, it was really. It's like a big piece of beef that was stretched out, and not like a great piece, but a piece you probably wouldn't eat, and you'd probably get rid of.
Like gristly.
Gristle, yeah.
Chewy.
Gristly.
I describe it as chewy. Yeah, it's really a weird thing. The placenta is very strange looking.
You weren't cutting it with your teeth,
No,
right?
with like medical scissors.
Okay.
But when you cut something, you can still kind of feel
Right.
the, you know.
I just want to make sure, because the words you chose invoke mouth parts.
I agree.
So
Yeah,
It
there's
was
a lot
just
of
the first word that came.
meat-related language here. But they, when I thought they were gonna let me cut the umbilical cord, I was afraid, like, oh no, am I gonna like accidentally like cut my baby? But like everything's really separated. This umbilical cord's pretty long. They like give you this little stretch, and like everyone else has done all this work, including your partner for like delivering this child. Right? And then they're like, and now, would you like to cut the umbilical cord? But they present it in this like totally safe, sterile way. And you just do this like little tiny clip and they're like, oh!
Great job,
amazing.
Dad. Great job,
Amazing.
partner, man.
Fantastic.
You
Nice
did a
work.
good one.
Nice work.
Yeah, it is a little weird like that. But
It's
it was
absurd.
I did not know that I was going to be part of that show until it happened. The doctor was like, "Do you want to cut the umbilical cord?" And I was like, and she's like, "You do. Get over here."
It'll be fun. You'll love it.
I'm not allowed to talk about the birth. Okay, so I was specifically told not to talk about it.
Just the afterbirth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Name for the placenta.
Hey!
Great job. Good job. Get us back on track.
Yeah, for the sack.
We've got two parts here to this question. What happened to the umbilical cord, and then what happened to placenta. The umbilical cord is basically a tube, more or less. It connects the placenta to the fetus. It's actually really interesting. Inside of the tube is one vein and two arteries, and they're suspended in a special connective tissue called Wharton's jelly. I remember that because we're going to come back to it. Yeah.
That sounds
It
delicious.
does, right? Yeah.
Sounds like a taffy that, down by the
I was
pier.
like, Wharton's jelly?
Wharton's jelly.
Wow.
My grandma used to use that all the time. Put it on
right
toast.
for her arthritis. Just slap a little Wharton's jelly on there. So it develops around 4 weeks into gestation when it's still an embryo, and then it moves the nutrients, so you nailed that part, back and forth between the placenta and the fetus. The placenta comes from the Latin.
Wait, Trace. Also poop, right?
It gets rid of waste as well. Yep.
Yeah, baby poop
goes
in there.
through, and I mean, I don't think it's literally poop. I think it's just like the waste molecules in the vein, just like any bloodstream. But the blood doesn't mix between the two. It just goes to the placenta. There are little villi in there, and it exchanges the nutrients between the mother and the growing organism. Viral infection that is babies. They basically just like latch on, and they're like, it's like an alien. So placenta comes from the Latin flat cake, and it does kind of look like that. It's basically a bunch of blood vessels. It's very easily and often described as a tree, because where the tube, the umbilical, hits the placenta, it kind of forms this tree shape of blood vessels. And to be honest, the placenta is incredibly fascinating. The more research I did on it, the more interesting it was. And I know we talk a lot about the fetus and like, oh my God, it's gonna be a baby. But the placenta is really cool. It's like this giant alien organ, and it's the only ephemeral organ in the human organism. It grows just for making the baby alive, and then once it's done, it just immediately starts to decay and disappear. So it appears after fertilization and implantation of a zygote, a fertilized egg, and it grows out of the embryo. So some people are confused on that point. I was when I was looking it up. Where's the placenta come from? The mom or the baby? It comes from the baby, which actually means the placenta is 50% the partner as well. So it's part of it. It's a 50-50 organ in terms of genetics. And the extension cord, if the placenta is where it's getting the energy from the mom and the nutrients and the waste, the extension cord to the baby is the umbilical.
Thank you for describing this in home improvement terms, so I can
welcome.
understand it as a man. You got your power supply, but then you need a stinger. You got
plug
to
it
run a
in.
5-footer.
And you really need it to be at least a 15 gauge, so you gotta really get in there.
It's grounded, so there's...
Yeah, it's got that neutral wire. We got 2 arteries and we got 1 vein. It's very important. So that's the whole system. We've got the fetus, we've got the umbilical cord, we've got the placenta. The placenta transfers the nutrients from the mom and the waste, and then the umbilical cord is literally just a kind of connective tissue between the two, making sure that we get that stuff moving around. Ancient people is the question, though. So you see this whole system. The baby comes out, and within minutes or sometimes seconds, but minutes or sometimes longer, the placenta will come out too. It's like a second birth. So once the important thing was out, ancient people were like, I don't know, this thing here might not be that important. Like, it's not the baby, right? So if you're in a birth, today we have all of these things that go on in a modern hospital where you cut the cord, you take the placenta, and you can do all sorts of things with it. We'll come back to that. But Neolithic people and like super ancient people don't seem to really care about it that much. There's not a lot written about like Neolithic history about the placenta or about the umbilical cord. And not a lot of mention, at least that I could find. And so cutting the cord is considered a big deal. And Ali, I'm glad you mentioned it earlier because it dates back to first writings about it were in medieval times, but it was definitely done earlier. So like in the 1500s. And one source says there wasn't a lot of formal information written because, and this was like a gentleman scientist in the Victorian era, said because this was midwives' territory. So nobody wrote it down. And I was like, you moron. Did you just not ask them? Because if you wanted to know, you could have asked them. They didn't, But they said essentially that, like, because it was passed down by midwives throughout a lot of human history, there wasn't a lot written down about it. Because, the king of your, whatever ancient castle might not want to go talk to the midwife. They're just excited to have the baby. They don't need all the details.
If it's a son.
Right.
If it's a daughter,
Right.
Well, time to get a new wife. I'm only getting daughters out of this one, and then.
If only they knew it was their fault.
That's my favorite part. That's on you, my dude.
So, once we have some writings about it, there are two things that happen after birth, and I sort of said this, so I might be repeating myself, but this is what my notes say. So, first, the baby comes out, obviously, ideally. Then the cord is attached to something still inside the mother, so you cut the cord. Not sure when this started, like I said, but it was first mentioned in medical texts from medieval times called the trochlea, which was written between the 12th and 15th centuries. And they actually do recommend to this day, but in this book, this ancient book, tie the umbilical cord, chant a charm during the cutting of it, and then wrap the stump. And that's still basically, except for the chanting part. I don't know. We had Jennifer Lopez playing but whatever.
That's a chant, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like,
or when everybody cheers when you do it, I feel like that's the same kind of invocation of well wishes.
Yeah.
Whee!
Yeah. So the tie part, by the way, is still very important, still done, because if you think about it, that cord is like direct access tube to the inside of the baby. So you got to tie it up so that they don't have that problem. Also, you don't cut the cord immediately. You usually wait a couple minutes. It's pulsing after the baby is born, and you wait till it stops pulsing. This is called delayed clamping, which is the standard of care in all modern hospitals. But at the time, they didn't specify that. Sometimes they would literally, baby pops out, slice it, tie it, slice it, give the baby to whomever you're going to give it to. By the way, delayed clamping sounds like you wait an hour. It's literally like wait a couple minutes. So I had to go look that up as well. And the reason they wait is because that cord is full of blood, and the blood needs to go back into the baby so that the baby has got higher iron, higher hemoglobin. And so they wait like between a minute and 2 or 3 minutes before they cut the cord. And then again, the placenta comes out a bit later. And the placenta was always kind of this side thought. It wasn't like, again, it's not a baby. And so when the baby is born, the cord and placenta are attached to it in the animal kingdom. And that's why there are a lot of animals that eat it. In fact, like 4,000 different species eat the placenta, documented species.
It's got to be dense. I mean, this thing is just full of lots of good stuff.
Well, I was curious, not so much about the placenta eating, but just how animals that can't tie off an umbilical cord deal with that and the placenta. So please elaborate.
Yeah, thank you. That's how they eat it. So real quick, Almost all eutherian mammals consume their placenta, but it's not universal. Camelids don't, so like camels. Aquatic and semi-aquatic mammals do not, and humans do not. Although some apes do, and some male animals, again, also eat it. Mice, rats, and hamsters, specifically. And of those 4,000 mammals, eating it is associated with a variety of benefits, from increased mother-offspring interaction, brain chemicals associated with caring for offspring, natural painkillers for the birthing female. It decreases postpartum hemorrhages, depression, pseudo-pregnancies, promotes lactation, and is, of course, nutritious. You get a baby, you get a snack. Great. It was a lot of hard work. Congratulations.
Have they done any, like, I'm pretty squeamish about food, and I'm wondering if they've done any, like, placebo, like, studies with placebos where they give mothers and fathers, like, new mothers and fathers, like, something that they claim is placenta, but it's just, like, a ground beef patty, and then studied it. Because I would want to participate in that. Because I don't know if I want to eat the placenta, but, like, the bonding or, like, postpartum depression for the mother, that sounds like a great benefit.
Yeah. In humans, there's no proof of what they call placentaphagy. There's no proof of that benefit. And at least not that they've found by the scientific method. I want to be clear, and they've tried. Ali, when do you think, because for those who don't know, there's a pretty big movement of people who promote eating the placenta, or what is consuming. You don't make it into a loco moco and like cover it and stuff and eat it. You usually get it encapsulated into pills and you'll take it as a pill, or you have, different, some people do it as tea. You can consume it in a variety of ways. When do you think that started, Ali?
So based on my own experience, which is how I base all my science, is through the N of one. My daughter was born in 2017 in New York, and we had no options given of anything to do with the placenta. My son was born last year in 2022 in Northern California, and they said, what do you want to do with this thing? You want to take it home with you? So I'm guessing it's recent. Trace, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years. In the last 5 years.
Great. Yeah, really great. It started in the 1970s. So you're off, but, Price is Right rules.
I'm off by many
by
decades.
50, 60 years, yeah. But it started in the 70s. But if you ask people who are proponents of this, they'll be like, oh, it's an ancient practice. There's no evidence of that. So in modern day, people do consume the placenta. It's typically, though, in surveys done of people, practiced in industrialized Western urban nations, mostly in the United States, Australia, and the EU. So like other places where the snake oil salesman would be like, this is direct from the East. It's
right.
like, no, it's really just like direct from Australia or, Kansas or where, it's like not ancient practice. A 2013 survey of 189 women who engaged in it found most were white, married, and educated. So really interesting.
So like the Gwyneth Paltrow demographic.
Honestly, there's a lot of information on this from that website. And so, and even though there's no proven benefit, that doesn't mean people shouldn't do it if they want to. There are some risks, however. One infant got streptococcus from the pill form. The mother was taking the pills and it passed this infection to the baby because they have a very weak immune system and there's no regulation for this because it's not like there's no scientific benefit. So the companies that do it aren't regulated. They just do it. So they'll dry it, encapsulate it, and give it to the mom, but it could be infected with bacteria. But the reason I say if you want to do it is because the placebo effect is important. And they have done placebo-controlled studies with this, a lot of different studies. And there's literally, they can't find any benefits. They keep looking, but they can't seem to find anything. Okay, so that's it for placentaphagy. So the oldest widely known image of a placental ritual dates back to ancient Egypt, 3400 BCE. It was carved into stone. Do you want to see what that looks like?
Yeah. So I see somebody who looks like an important pharaoh man standing over a smaller figure with a couple of whips, and then he's presiding over 4 people holding up poles, and supported by those poles is maybe a placenta, as far as I can tell, coming out of birds, and then on the right I see several decapitated bodies. How am I as an archaeologist? Did I nail it?
you did
I don't
great.
understand how they got placenta eating ritual out of what I just looked at.
Juliet, this is basically what this experience is what it's like for me to read emojis.
Yeah, we're going
a
back.
Gen Z person.
They will be great
is-
Egyptologists
Yeah.
when they go through college.
I think so. I'm like, skull and bones. Like, is this a good thing?
That means you're
telling me,
hilarious.
or a bad thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
And
dead.
they're like,
They
no,
died.
It's good.
Laughing so
Yeah.
funny.
I was like,
they're laughing so
cool.
hard they died.
Yeah.
Good job. You're hip.
It took me a long time to
So-
do that.
With a Rosetta Stone of like, what does this translate to in ancient Greek? And then I'll translate it from there.
So what you're seeing, the pharaoh is on the left. You're right.
Yes!
Leading a procession or a parade of the placenta with the umbilical cord still attached to it. So they've clamped and, tied and cut the umbilical from the baby.
Wow.
And the reason they did that is because they knew that the placenta was the reason, or assumed, I guess, that the placenta was the reason the baby could live. The baby needed the placenta to be born, and they actually called the placenta the second soul, or my favorite, the pharaoh's secret helper. So, like,
That's kind of cute.
when the prince was born, or the princess, I guess, they would do this parade and they would say, like, thank you, placenta, for everything you've done. We are able to have a baby now.
They would have like t-shirts and face paint.
Yeah,
like,
they'd be all excited. Can you imagine all the Egyptians being like, Pharaoh had a baby. Look at that.
yeah. Oh,
Whoa,
good job,
hey, wow,
placenta.
spotted. Yeah, good job.
Is that a bunch of decapitated bodies next to it?
They didn't say what that was. I think
Okay.
that might be a separate panel.
Oh, all
Um,
right. Those are the people who doubted the pharaoh could have a baby, and now
You're like, ha!
ha, the placenta proves you wrong.
So one source I read said also that the pharaoh's livelihood was tied to the placenta. It wasn't a scholarly source, and they did say eventually it was buried in its own tomb. They also, I think, a little on the Paltrow side of it, were like, he took it to meetings and was like, look at how great. And I'm like, no, I don't know about that. I was like,
Could you imagine a Zoom with a pharaoh? And there's like a separate camera just on the
Hold
placenta.
on, well, that sounds great for the third quarter targets, but let's check in on what the placenta has to say about that. No, that's a good point. The placenta raises.
to follow on the placenta's point.
Placenta, you're still muted.
So that's the oldest. So when I said earlier Neolithic people, nothing. But by ancient Egypt, we had, in the medieval times, we had these pieces of knowledge about it and how important it was. The original Bible, also known as the Old Testament, Bible V1, that was the seat of the external soul and the bundle of life. That's how they referred to the placenta.
Oh.
It wasn't called the placenta until the mid 1500s when the medieval midwives started writing it down, and that comes from, again, Latin and Greek. To wrap up, a 2010 study by Benyashek and Young. Benyashek is one of the biggest studiers of the placenta that I could find. They looked at 180 modern cultures to see what they do with placentas, and the cultures were across the world: Africa, Asia, Europe, Middle America, and the Caribbean, the Middle East, North America, Oceania, and South America, and found that of the 179 that they looked at, 70 had no specific ritual, 109 disposed of them by ritualistic burial, incineration, intentional placement or disposal in a specific location, which is really cool, or hanging in a tree or structure. And so the Egyptian pole thing would count as that last one. Other than the placenta raid, as I like to call it, my favorite one was throwing it over the edge of a mesa.
Like you're like a desert plateau and you just go with the wind.
Be free, placenta, be free. So today, we do a lot of things with the placenta. You can consume it. It's typically incinerated after it's used. But my favorite thing about the placenta umbilical cord in modern day is that Wharton's jelly. Not because of the name, but because Wharton's jelly is that connective tissue that suspends the arteries in the vein to keep the cord from kinking or breaking. But what it does is it contains mesenchymal stem cells. And yeah, so when you talk about like fetal stem cells or like stem cells from, this is where they're from. They're from the umbilical cord.
Whoa.
And it contains extracellular matrix components as well. So if you're going to build something, you can use the Wharton's jelly to do that. Stem cells can become basically anything, in case the audience isn't aware, in the human body. And these cells specifically are used to build like skeletal tissues and muscular tissues. So today they're used to repair those in adults and like grown humans. So they are used by our bodies to make and repair skeletal tissues such as cartilage, bone, and fat found in the bone marrow. The cord contains the highest concentrations of these stem cells more than any other tissue, and it can be used to reduce pain, inflammation, increase healing. It's used in plastic surgeries, aesthetic medicine, cardiovascular diseases, endocrine and nervous system diseases, cell transplantation, and the repair of damaged musculoskeletal tissues. And every birth, you get a little bit more. So cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So what did ancient people do? Depended on the ancient people, but not that much. Or they celebrated it.
Had a little parade for it.
Yeah, a little placenta raid.
I thought there would be a lot more weirder stuff, but it sounds like they kind of did what we did.
I'm always amazed at how not different we are from people thousands of years ago. You know, that I'm always reminded of that like humans haven't changed very much in hundreds of thousands of years. Like the base things that we're working with, like we've changed our environment around us and we've invented a lot of technology and stuff, but we're still not that different.
We're still human.
And that's kind of like the problem, right? Is like we've changed our culture so much faster than our brains have been able to evolve. It's a humble reminder of all of this. I thought, Trace, you're going to come back with such different stuff. This is so... It is surprising. It is surprising. I'm also thinking about like these ancient humans. They were probably around more animals and more life. They saw... Like, seeing a birth was probably not something that was that unusual. They probably saw, like, animal births. They were probably more familiar with seeing them. So I guess this all makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also surprised there wasn't like, well, in this ancient, in ancient Mesopotamia, they did this, and ancient wherever they did that. We found evidence of the Neanderthals who did this. There was some sources that were like, likely everyone cut the placenta away from their offspring, because once you're born, there is this thing called a lotus birth. It's not recommended by any scientific organization, where you don't disconnect the baby from the umbilical cord and you just leave it there, and you would like take the baby around and like wrap the placenta in like gauze or whatever and carry it around until it falls off. It would still come off a few days after birth, but you're essentially carrying a disease vector around with your newborn. And so, but like it could be that we just saw people who did that and they were like, oh, well, their kid died, so I'm going to get this thing off my kid. You know, it's just like, you don't know. We don't know.
The other thing is just for safety reasons and also convenience.
That's
like
my
there
thinking.
is, right? Yeah, I mean, there's this natural drive to nurse the child and feed the child. Mm-hmm. And having this like long thing hanging off is going to be really inconvenient for that.
Yeah. Moving it around, taking it to Zoom meetings with you.
It's the same reason we're moving to wireless headphones, right? Like, it's just like a dangly cord. You're like, it's not that big a deal. And then it is. It just gets in the way.
You know, it is. That is a great analogy.
Did I fail to capture the beauty of childbirth with that analogy?
And on that note, why don't you take those headphones and listen to a few of these adverts. Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then, and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out.
And we're back. So, since we're talking about technology, I think that transitions well to Ali's question.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thanks.
Good job. What was your question for this week?
I think my question was, can robots love?
Yeah. And this one, normally we try and like to have a silly question on our own, but we floated several to you and you chose this one. But as it happens, this one was not submitted by a human being, but by ChatGPT, which makes me think that you're going to be revealing some valuable information to the robots by answering it.
Maybe it would be better for the sake of humanity's future if we like do some John Connor stuff right now and just like not answer this question.
If we shut it down, yeah.
Wow, you guys, I want the robots to love. I want them to be able to.
What if the answer to that question is they can't love, and then they get upset and turn on us, and they're like, well, if I can't love, I can hate, and then destroy humanity. See?
We'll just have to keep loving, you know?
Or what if they love and it ends up being this like really messy divorce because we don't get along?
Yeah.
You know, because like we're not taking out the trash.
That's life, man. That's just life, you know? It's not just a bunch of zeros and ones. It's the messy things. It's the crazy ones. Now I'm just on an Apple commercial. I don't know.
So Ali, this is something in your wheelhouse, right? As part of the appeal of taking this question. So sort of in, sort of out.
As a founding member of the Robot Human Love Society.
Wait, are your children half robot?
Yeah. I never said they're fully human.
I didn't ask that. The umbilical cord was literally an extension cable.
He's got like real big snips.
Yeah,
congratulations.
No, I loved this question. Number one, it's just like a really well-written question. It's only 3 words, and we could spend hours talking about this. But I think this question is just fascinating. The question sort of begs 2 more questions. First off, which is, what is a robot? And then the eternal question of the 1990s, what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Don't hurt me no more. Yeah. Yes. What is love? So,
never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna.
I will not be rickrolled on my own podcast.
I think you just were.
No, I refuse. That was a rather careless whisper, Trace.
Never gonna again. This is really complicated question, and unlike Trace's, there's not a ton of like direct answers that we're gonna get here. So
thanks for setting us up for that. Really setting low expectations.
Prepare to have more questions and uncertainty coming your way. So I knew more about the love side of this, and I knew less about the robot side of this, but I definitely was interested in both sides of this. So I kind of set out to first understand, okay, well, what's a definition of a robot? Like, what are we talking about? Let's figure that out first. And it turns out there's no real agreed upon definition. Even roboticists disagree about what a robot is. And so you can kind of look up the definition of a robot, a machine resembling a human being and able to replicate certain human movements and functions automatically, right? So that kind of makes you think like Star Wars droid, like something that looks like a human. It makes you think like a lot of old school science fiction, but then that doesn't capture things like ChatGPT. It doesn't capture things like a drone, like the Mars rovers. It doesn't capture things like robots that are building cars, and all these kind of factors. We call those robots, but that doesn't kind of factor into this. So then there's another group of roboticists that have like a broader definition. A robot is a machine, especially one programmable by a computer, capable of carrying out a complex series of actions automatically. And that definition seems to make a lot more sense to me. It's a thing you program that does stuff and kind of does stuff on its own, right? I think that captures a lot of a modern way of understanding robots. So if a robot is a machine and it does stuff that we tell it to do or that a computer tells it to do, can that thing love? Okay, so what is love?
Baby, don't.
And you saw it coming.
I was ready.
I'm not ready for love, but go on.
Let's get intimate here, folks.
All right.
Ooh, no, you're not close enough to the mic for intimacy. Get in there.
Let's get intimate. This is also a complicated question. If I ask you all, like, what is love? What comes to mind besides the song? See, I've sort of like, I've got What do you think about when you think about love? What comes up?
You know, obviously I think of the emotional stuff that comes up, you know, the things that humans connect to each other, but I'm trying to think of it like a robot. So it's a series of instructions that our brain gives parts of our body and releases certain chemicals. Like if you think of it in a mechanical way, it's like it, I don't know, flushes your skin or it causes certain chemicals to be released, which promote bonding or, you know, whatever. But this is hard.
Yeah, that's
hard.
Kind of the direction I was going to go, but my thought process also ran out of steam, like before it could get to a real good conclusion. It's like, you know, it's all based on chemicals, and yeah, it's a strong like feeling of affection that you have towards somebody else. And then immediately my brain went in 20 different directions of all the different types of love and how you make those all fit into the same box. And it's pretty messy.
Yeah. Seems like love is chaos, but it feels nice.
It's chaos. It's it's wild stuff here.
That is the way I do it.
Yeah, it's really complicated, and I think English really fails at describing this. There are a lot of different cultures that have a lot of different words to describe the things that we think about when we think about love in an English sense. Like in an English sense, love is so tied to these romantic and sexual desires, but we also like when you really ask someone like, do you love your friends, like the friends you're closest to, and they would be like, yeah, totally, I love them. Or like, you know, you might love people in your family, but you have no sexual desire with them, like, unless you're like in like Game of Thrones world and stuff,
or Oedipus or something. Yeah.
Right. And that's a whole different podcast. But I don't think English does a good job at really kind of speaking to this, because we can experience love in terms of intimacy, like intimacy in terms of how close we feel to someone. Intimacy can be about, it can be emotional. It can be totally intellectual. We can feel this like intimate connection with like our shared values or like shared interests, and we can talk to each other for hours and hours and hours and have absolutely no physical attraction with one another, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like intimacy is how close you feel to another person. And then there's this other aspect of love, which is all about like commitment. And it's more like intellectual. It's like, I love you. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to help you move. I'm going to help you do all these kind of things. I'm going to help you with the drywall, make sure you got the right like nails and stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
this seems very autobiographical.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I'm thinking of when you describe all these things, though, is like robots can totally help me move, you know, like forklifts and stuff. But I guess the kind of difference is the choice involved in it. You know, like when you love somebody, you make the choice to be there for them.
Yeah.
And a robot, if it's programmed just to do what it's told, it doesn't have a say in the matter. This is a weird random fun fact, but like the term robot even comes from like slave, like forced labor.
Yeah. It very quickly, we descended to Blade Runner, Battlestar Galactica, like Asimov territory here. You mentioned choice, Julian. Like, I think even that's debatable. Like, if you think about family and community and that sort of obligation, like to some degree, you might have some choice. You can always move away, but that seems to be more of a recent development in humanity. If we look at like the big picture, for the most part, you were kind of born into a family. You did what you had to do. You had a commitment to your family, your community, all of that sort of stuff. You didn't have a lot of choice there. And that is a form of love, that commitment part, and then, there's the passionate love, which is the more sexual love. It is the more romantic desire. We were talking about all the biochemistry involved, and there's like different elements of that thrown across love. Like so much of love research has looked at what does love do for us in terms of mediating stress. There's the famous Harry Harlow's rhesus monkey experiments, where he gave these baby rhesus monkeys who had been separated from their actual mothers. He gave them either a mother that was this like mother. It was this the wire mesh tube, a very like Matrix kind of mother.
Yeah,
very
like
dark.
googly eyes stuck on it. Right?
So dark.
Yeah,
I've seen the video. It's so dark.
It's really kind of disturbing, especially in terms of like animal ethics and how we approach research. But he gave them this quote unquote mother that was providing you with sustenance, and then like a soft fake mother that was comfortable and soothing. And these monkeys, they preferred the soft mother. They would go and get the food, but then they would spend most of the time with the soft mother. And there's a ton of research about how there was a psychologist, James Cohen. So he found that holding hands with a partner protected people from the stress of an electric shock. And this is kind of where I love how some psychologists work. They're like, how can we test this? Oh, I know. We can shock people and see if they experience less pain if they're holding a loved one's hand.
That's number one in the scientist toolkit of how to build an experiment, right? It's like step one, apply electricity.
Oh, we don't have electricity? Do we have anything hot? Can we?
Yeah.
Can we get some hot stuff?
Yeah, provoke discomfort via electricity.
Can we poke them with something?
Yeah, we don't have anything hot. Okay, can we poke them?
Do we have?
We don't have anything.
Is there a sharp stick budget?
Can we like shout at them? We're just going to shout at them.
All right, get the wire mesh mother. I guess we're really low budget on this one.
Get the Google.
We didn't get the grant money. But like by holding hands with somebody who's about to be shocked, does the hand holder, I assume, also get shocked?
I don't think so. Maybe they experience some discomfort at the sight of I'm just guessing here. Maybe they experience some discomfort over the sight of seeing someone they care about shocked.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's an intentional part of the experiment. Actually, is like, well, you can choose to hold hands with somebody knowing it will comfort them, but you also get shocked.
Oh yeah, maybe.
And do
you're
you're
looking at it from like a physics, like the electricity goes through person A and into the person B.
Yeah.
As well.
And so like that sets up like the relationship. Now you've got a choice. Like, do you want to be a good person at the expense of getting shocked?
I think the shocks are probably like more surface level than like a Van de Graaff generator kind of shock. But I don't know.
Just my brain running wild.
No, I like it.
I love.
That's why we're here.
I didn't anticipate physics being brought into it, but I am here for it. I love that. And so this research has been done with not only romantic partners, but with friends, with parents, with kids, and it seems to hold up. And it's pretty consistent with a lot of what we know about social support, how humans turn to each other in times of crisis, in times of stress, but also in times of opportunity to grow. Like we have this ability to help each other. And when we do that with our partners, with the people we love, we recover better from illness. Our immune systems work better. We live longer. The impact of stress is reduced. All this good stuff happens, right? And it happens because of this quote unquote idea of love. But then there's also attachment. Attachment is a word that's been thrown around a lot. People talk about it in terms of parent and child, but also in terms of adult romantic relationships. All attachment is when you're hurt or you're in an uncertain situation, it's how you turn to a caregiver, a partner for support. That's basic attachment. Someone is hurting or someone is struggling and someone is helping. That's how attachment works. And so that's a form of love. So there's all this stuff. So kind of coming back to it, can robots love? All right, can these machines that are programmed to do stuff, can they feel any of these things? I think that's the inherent part of the question. But what's not sort of in the question is, okay, well, what if can we love robots? Which I'll get to in a moment.
All the time.
I definitely do.
No, I think that answer is pretty easy. So there's a really cool video I found. If people want to find this on YouTube, it's MEI Robot Develops Emotions Through Interaction with Caregivers. So there are definitely efforts underway to train robots to experience some degree of emotion. And if you watch this video, what you'll basically see is they are training this robot to perceive basic human emotions and then replicate those emotions. So for example, the person talks in a stern way. The robot sort of acts as if it's kind of being like disciplined. If the human is excited, the robot gets excited. If the human seems sad, the robot seems sad. And that makes a lot of sense, right? We're going to be living in a future where we're interacting with more and more automation. And it definitely makes sense for the automation to be able to better interact with humans, be able to better read humans, kind of like, hey, read the room, robot. No one wants to talk about this right now. We're all kind of really bummed out because Westworld was canceled. I don't know.
Speaking of robots.
It makes a lot of sense. But then, we're talking about real basic emotions here. Really basic emotions about a robot resembling, copying, mimicking, which is kind of what ChatGPT does right now.
Yeah.
Right? It asked us this question, can robots love? Because we've been asking that question a lot. It's just autocomplete right now, right? But love, as we've just described, is a super complicated emotion. So there was this wonderful article a few years back about this very question, and a roboticist, to kind of summarize it for folks, a roboticist said two things. One is, well, love is a really complicated emotion, and robots might be able to kind of fake it, and we won't be able to tell.
So robots are like sociopaths.
Or like spouses in a loveless marriage, but they're faking it for the kids.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, they're just kind of programmed to do it, which this kind of begs the question, a very big philosophical question of would there be a difference between that and what we think of as real love, right? And this kind of gets to the movie Her.
Yeah.
If they're programmed to love us, and in every way, this advanced robot, their love looks like real love, are they anywhere closer to being human, or are they really just, getting back to that original definition, a machine that's programmed to do stuff that we tell it to do?
I feel like this is it's a really big conversation. It's like the Turing test, where they're testing to see if a robot is intelligent by chatting to it, and if it can convince them that it's a person instead of a robot, then they pass the Turing test. It's more complicated than that. But if it's convincing us that it has this emotion, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Right? If you and I have been friends for a long time, we could have all been faking it this whole time inside of our own heads, but we don't even know we're faking it because we're just programmed to do this.
Right,
right. We have programming too.
Right. We're programmed to
Yeah.
do it. Just so you know, I don't think I'm faking it. I really love both of you guys. You guys are great. But like,
Thanks.
I might not know whether I'm faking it or not because I'm just responding to my programming, which is chemical instead of binary. But what's the difference?
I was reminded of an old episode of House where he's talking with one of his doctors and she's, having a relationship with another doctor. And he's like, well, do you love him? And she's like, I don't love him. I only think I love him. And he's like, what is the difference? Like,
What is the difference?
what is it? Oh, I just think I love him. Then you do, don't you?
Yeah. While you were talking, Ali, I was like, so if I created a computer that when it communicated with other computers or people, wanted to communicate with those people more, formed attachments like, oh, I really like this server because it gets me a lot of this information. So I'm going to make more connections to this server. And I really like this person because it adds a lot of like input to my life that I'm getting from this person. And over time, it just got used to doing those things. That computer programs work that way too. You write a program, it doesn't, even ones that are smart, they go to specific places to get data. And they can learn to go to new places to get new data, and maybe maybe ChatGPT loves Reddit because it's like such a rich source of new data, and we just don't use that language. But if ChatGPT could choose to like make more connections and pull more data from Reddit, isn't that just attachment, kind of like a weird way?
Yeah, this is. I think this is a big problem we're having with AI right now. Is we're attaching these very familiar names to concepts that are not in any way like human. The way ChatGPT is learning is by sort of Kirby style ingesting all this collective knowledge. Which is not how humans learn at all. Like a human child develops basic understandings of generalities. Like, so for example, everything is a car. A truck is a car. Like any moving vehicle is a car. It makes all these like mistakes and generalities, and kids get older and they learn a little bit more. Their schemas, these general understandings, that become more complicated as their understanding of the world becomes complicated. ChatGPT has just sort of like absorbed all this knowledge, but it's really immature and dumb. And then when it makes mistakes, we call them hallucinations, which are not in any way like human hallucinations, right?
Yeah.
So our language is not quite there. I think we need new terms to describe what AI is doing and what robots might be capable of. So I think there's a big gap there. But if people are really interested in this topic, that article I was sort of alluding to, it's called "Can Robots Fall in Love and Why Would They?" I think it's a very old, 2017 Daily Beast article. So he described okay, maybe they can replicate it and it'll look the same. And then what does that mean? And, what are the ethics involved and what are the rights involved, right?
Yeah.
But then the other thing he describes, which is like really practical, and I think we should also think about, is like, okay, true love would mean a whole new way of programming robots. We're not capable of doing that. It's going to take a lot of time. But it's also a really bad idea. Because if robots are designed to do automation, do we really want to give them emotions? Because it's not just about giving them love. And if we give them that ability, they might also have the ability to get really bored with their work.
Yeah.
And then maybe they don't want to do the automation anymore. And then what's the ethics involved in that?
Yeah.
Now they truly are slaves. Because not only are we asking them to do all this stuff, but they might really not want to do it. So maybe we don't want to give them the emotions.
I mean, we learned in the future documentary Star Trek: The Next Generation, when Lore was given emotion, Data's twin brother, he became a sociopath. And then Data had to slowly dip the toe in emotion over multiple seasons and episodes and show and like movies to really start to grasp it. And even he was like, this is really complicated and I don't know if I want to do this.
It's a really good point, Trace, because that's how teams are approaching teaching robots right now. Basic emotions are trying to teach them like we teach kids. Like, kids are very young. They have these reactions. We help kids to learn, oh, you're really hungry. Oh, you're sad. You got a boo-boo. So we give them the words to understand what's happening inside. And as they get older, we give them more ways of understanding, expressing, and dealing with it. So that's kind of a lot of what the training models for training robots with emotions are like right now. But, like, these questions we're not going to be able to kind of settle, but I want to leave people with a more silly thought, which is, so what about sex toys? At what point?
Yeah, what about them? Who's? Yeah.
Let's all.
Let's talk in the hypothetical.
That's a curve. I love sex toys. Sex toys are the best.
So sex toys could probably be defined as robots, these machines that are programmed to engage in some type of automation.
Yeah.
Depending on the sex toy. Right?
Super good automation.
Check right there. Can they be programmed to engage in some type of sexual desire or, create these reactions in other people that produce sexual desire or some type of desire? Yeah. So is that love? Is a sex toy that is producing sexual desire in you and has been programmed to please you, is that love?
I don't think I have an answer to that.
Sounds like passion, but is the sex toy also going to show up to my hockey game later? Like,
look, if you wanted to, you can.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the sex toy. I think the sex toy only wants me for my body.
But that's love too, just a different
kind. That's hooking up.
A different type
the sex
of love.
toy
That's
just
what
wants
we're
to
talking
hook
about.
up with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's a different type of love.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
One person, one thing, one robot does not need to satisfy all your desires for love. We can get the intimacy one place, commitment another place, passion another place. And actually, Julian, maybe that sex toy would be really good at showing up at the hockey game. Maybe it would show up better than a human might.
Yeah.
You never know until you try, man. You got to take the leap.
Well, and now I'm thinking about like the monkeys with like the different mothers and like, okay, I'll have like the comfy, cozy, cuddly robot for when I want to watch a movie with somebody, and then the sex robot for later.
I mean, we've already got both of those things. So it's like there are pillows that like know that you're cuddling, and if you start to wake up, it like soothes you. Like it can cool itself down, or it can release sound or smell.
But what if the robots get jealous of each other, though? That's my fear. Is like when these emotions start dipping into the negative, and like jealousy and anger and revenge start to swirl in their robot minds. That's my fear.
We've already solved this, Julian. We just don't give them that ability.
Yeah.
Don't give it. I think that's what this comes down to.
As sad as that is.
So robots can love, but probably shouldn't?
I think robots can be programmed to show love, but we shouldn't give them the ability to feel love.
It's so sad. But also
someone's going to do it,
Yeah.
It's going to be a Jurassic Park,
We just got to make sure they're on an island.
Fenced in.
And we only look at them from Jeeps.
All the crazed sex robots. Sex robot island.
People would
Netflix
go there.
Netflix is totally going to greenlight that.
Yeah.
Now we really have the title for this episode. Sex Robot Island, coming this fall to Fox.
I'd watch it. No shame.
Next week on Bravo, Sex Robot Island. Then we get a bunch of clips of people yelling at each other.
Tanya, you bitch.
Beep, boop, boop, beep.
You broke the pump that serves as my heart.
I would love to see C-3PO host the after show special too. I think C-3PO would be awesome at that.
He'd be so straight-laced. You'd need an R2-D2 character, like an R5 unit that's just in the background, steaming.
Yes.
Anyway.
Talk about the ultimate sex toy. That thing has so many attachments.
Yeah, and more every time they need a new Deus Ex Machina.
It's sort of plot filler.
Now they can fly. Now they can bend space. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'd also be your co-pilot in your space fighter jet.
Honestly, why doesn't everyone have one? Doesn't make sense. Well, Well, thank you for that, Ali. I think I learned a lot about robots, but also love. Mostly love. And some about
and
robots.
hopefully a little bit about sex toys.
I think I need more
didn't even
research
know
on
they
that.
were a thing before this. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yep. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, my question.
And we're back. Thank you again for sticking around through 2 questions so far. What about placentas and umbilical cords in the past? Do robots love? Now we have our 3rd question. Julian, what was your question this week?
Is radically different from the first 2, but I'm pretty excited about it. We're not going to get to talk about placentae or sex robots, but I promise it'll be interesting because my question for this episode is, what if there were no moon? Ooh, Trace, I believe this was your thought bubble.
Yeah. Have you heard of the terrible movie Moonfall?
I had a suspicion that this is exactly where this came from.
So bad. And
I
so
have
terrible.
watched the honest trailer to that movie.
Yeah.
Which I think qualifies as watching the movie.
I think you've gotten, all you need to.
You get the movie from seeing even the dishonest trailer.
Yeah. I saw the Ryan George pitch meeting, right, where he plays both the producer and the
Yes.
scriptwriter.
And it's like, okay, cool, the moon falls, gets closer to the earth. That would mess up everything. We all know that. When I was a kid, my dad really liked to make me watch old school sci-fi. And one of those old school sci-fi that we watched on Laserdisc was Space 1999.
Oh,
Do you know
yes.
Space 1999?
What?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Okay, Space 1999. There is a colony of 70s, I'm assuming. I was a kid. I don't know. 70s, I'm assuming what would be 1970s hot people. And they're all living on this colony. And a nuclear accident happens. And the explosion pushes the moon out of orbit. They never focus on what would actually be exciting, which is to say what's happening on Earth. And instead focus on the hot people who are still on the moon. And now they're on a spaceship moon.
Okay, my next question is, are any of these people sex robots?
If they
And
were,
what did they do
moon.
with their placenta?
well, clearly they put them on poles and they made a parade and decapitated anyone who disagreed. Easy.
Yeah.
So I was watching. I didn't actually watch Moonfall. I tried, couldn't, and I was like, look. I don't care if the moon gets closer. And it made me think of Space 1999. The moon goes away. What happens?
See, I looked into this, and a lot of the questions that people pose online are of the same vein of, what if there were no moon? But I think a much more interesting question that I did not see asked as much was, what if it had just never formed in the first place?
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And so to tackle that, I think first we should have the groundwork laid of where we think the moon came from in the first place.
Yeah.
So before Apollo, there were a lot of different competing
I'm
theories.
sorry. I was based on the last 2 stories. I'm sorry to jump in. I was just thinking, when 2 planets love each other very much.
The moon is basic. Actually, oh my God. The moon.
I mean,
You said they were unrelated.
It is essentially the placenta of, of
it came
planetary
from
formation.
the afterbirth of the Earth.
You're
from
kind
its
of
butt.
right. Oh my God.
I'm jumping up and down.
Oh no. Okay. All right. So before Apollo,
The god?
after the god,
Battlestar
but
Galactica.
before
No,
the
the
space
Battlestar
mission.
Galactica.
Battlestar
family.
Galactica
Yeah.
Apollo. Oh, the remake or the original?
Both.
Oh, wow.
Listen, nerds, I'm trying to talk here. You guys have so much shared sci-fi overlap that I do not have. Before we started recording, I practically gave Ali a conniption mixing up Star Wars and Star Trek.
And I will have my revenge.
Khan!
Yeah, that's Star
There we go.
Wars.
Now we're back on the good terms.
Okay.
He was doing the Benedict Cumberbatch one, though.
Oh, you!
J.J. Abrams does both of them. Nothing is sacred. Okay. The space mission Apollo was pretty pivotal to our understanding of where the moon came from, because before that we had some competing theories. There were several, but there were three kind of main ones. There's capture theory, so there's just the moon wandering out there through a space, and as it floats by Earth grabs it and it moves into orbit. There's accretion, so just as the Earth is forming from all the dust after the sun is formed, that's floating around, you get the Earth kind of clump into a ball, and then separately the moon clumps into a ball, and they stay together, and you have moon in orbit. And then you have fission, where an early Earth was spinning so fast it just kind of launched the moon into orbit, like off of itself. It like cleaves off, and you get a separate moon. But when the Apollo astronauts came back with space rocks and they analyzed the composition and like the isotope concentrations of certain isotopes, they realized it was really, really similar to Earth, but not exactly the same. And so it ruled out pretty much all those theories, and in order to explain it, we came up with the giant impact theory. So basically, proto-Earth, billions of years ago, was, globbing up and forming along, and out of nowhere, a Mars-sized planetoid object that we call Theia smacks into the Earth and basically launches all this material into orbit around the Earth, and that's the formation of the moon. So that's why you get the similar isotope concentration. But you also have these things from the moon that only form like rapidly under really high temperatures. And so we think that explains like that big collision and all that energy that was released explains why we see what we see in the moon. Let's say that doesn't happen, right? And you just have that early Earth forming, and Theia, doesn't exist, never happened, never smacked into the Earth. So I started thinking, and my first question was, okay, if we remove essentially a Mars-sized planet from the Earth, what happens to gravity?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, because we merged with that big thing.
Yeah.
And the moon is just like the stuff that Theia Earth kind of threw into space.
Yes.
Near enough that it got caught in our gravity.
Yeah. So just want to throw out a poll, an unscientific poll, but do you think you would be able to jump higher on this hypothetical no moon, no Theia impact Earth, or not as high?
I don't jump very high as it is.
Not as high.
Yeah.
Not as high.
I think, well, I'm going to go opposite then. $1, Bob.
Yeah. Well, Trace is right, but only by a little bit, and also big asterisk. I did the math on this, so who knows?
Wait. We did the math. Nice.
Very nice. Okay.
We'll get one of these. Well, someday we'll have a soundboard, but in the meantime, we just have to.
We have to
do you want to join us on that one, Ollie? Do you want to do it again?
Yeah,
ready?
Yeah, you take the bass line.
1, 2, 3. We did the math.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. You're going to have to have a UK version.
Oh, maths. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do localized. We got to localize.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
We did the maths. Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, you got that long S. It's a nightmare.
Sorry, please continue, Julian.
All right. So gravity, the gravitational pull you feel in classical physics, it depends on the masses of the objects involved, but also how far you are from the center of mass. So, okay, the way I did it, I basically added together the mass of Earth and the moon, and then subtracted the mass of Mars, and I assumed the density of Earth was about the same. I have no proof of if this is a good way of approaching this, but that's how I did it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have a big error bar, but that seems right.
Yeah. So doing all that, the Earth is less massive than it is now, but it is also smaller. And when you factor those two things in, you get gravitational acceleration, according to my math, of 9.48 meters per second squared, when normally on Earth it's 9.8. So the difference is really, really tiny. But you could jump slightly higher.
And if you were crashing in an airplane, it would take slightly longer.
Yeah, to hit the ground. Yeah, sure.
Nice.
That's some comfort there. But
more time.
Yay! To panic.
Dread the
to
result.
Call your favorite love robot.
Oh, okay. Let's do.
Tell it that you're gonna miss it.
Tanya,
and it can carry on without you.
Tanya, my heart pump was never broken. I was just jealous.
All right. So yeah, you have a slightly lower gravity, but more importantly, it also introduces a ton of different complications on, how Earth came to be. So we think when Theia smacked into Earth, it basically turned the entire exterior into molten rock. Just so much energy. And then eventually this settled down into the world we see today. But that could be like the beginning of why we have tectonic plates. Or, how about this for you? When Theia first hit the Earth and then the moon got basically flung off, the moon was much, much closer, like twice as close as it is now. But the reason the moon has slowly been moving farther away is because the moon exerts a pull on the Earth, like it creates a tidal bulge, but it also pulls on that bulge because the bulge isn't perfectly aligned with the moon. So it slows the Earth down a little bit, and the Earth basically transfers energy to the moon, and the moon moves a little bit farther away. So the moon is slowly moving farther away from us as the Earth slows down. So after Theia hit the Earth, Earth's rotation would be like a 6-hour day.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just like extremely quick rotating Earth. And because the moon is so much closer, the tidal forces are much bigger, right? We talked about like distance from the massive object depends a lot on how far you are from it, right? It's an inverse square relationship. So you've got this early Earth, and it's got the moon that's way closer and the days that are way, way shorter. And so some scientists think this may have been crucial to life starting on Earth.
Whoa, no moon, no life.
Possibly. It depends on how life originated, because we know it started in the ocean, right? And then question is, did it start with an energy source like towards the bottom of the sea where hydrothermal vents and heat provided like the energy needed for these molecules to start mingling and eventually self-replicating? Or did it happen closer to the surface? And one idea is if you have, these extreme tides that happen every 3 hours, between high and low tide, you get like water washing up on rocks and stuff, once oceans form. Water washes up on rocks, and then the water quickly recedes, and the water on the rock evaporates, and you get more and more concentrated chemicals there. And so you can start building up these concentrations of chemicals needed to eventually start making organic molecules and DNA and RNA. So it has been put forward that the moon was critical to life forming on Earth. And so, yeah, if there were no moon ever, possibly there is no life on Earth.
Whoa. But not in the way of like it destroyed. It's more just like, no, the conditions weren't right. We just never got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No life, no sex robots. Definitely no placenta. That's really interesting. Like the question that I hope we answer and probably are never going to answer is, how did non-life become life? Right? That's the question.
Oh, that's the big one. I don't think we have time for it on this episode. You took up too much time with the sex robots. I totally have the answer right here, though.
Oh, no.
Too bad.
Right in that spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's at the very bottom, though, and I do have to go in order. Yeah, that's a shame.
Are you a robot?
But this gets right to that, a potential thing there. Wow, that puts a moon in a whole new light.
It's pretty cool, right? I mean, our moon is special among moons in the solar system. It's like the largest relative to the mass of the body that it's orbiting. Like, Mars has a couple moons, but they're teeny tiny.
Yeah. And Jupiter has a lot, like
so
60,
many
90,
moons.
But they're all specks in comparison to its
And
girth.
Jupiter's freaking enormous. Yeah, exactly. Our moon is quite unusual in our own solar system, which is possibly why it had all these very important effects. Another very important thing about the moon is the stabilizing effect it has on the Earth's tilt. So not only did it slow our days down to 24 hours, which, by the way, other fun things, like just in the Mesozoic era, time of dinosaurs, we think days on Earth were like 20 hours long, as opposed to 24.
Yeah, because it's just slowly slowing down over those millions of years.
Over those millions of years, we've gotten like 4 hours, which is great, because I always say I need like another 6 hours in my day. So if I just live...
Come back a couple million years from now.
Several hundred million years.
No big deal.
I'll finally have time to sleep and then be productive during the day.
We'll find things to fill your day, don't worry.
So let's imagine, though, that life forms in the absence of a moon, but we, still don't have a moon. It would be terrible to be on Earth.
Oh.
Because the moon also keeps our tilt, our axial tilt, our obliquity, in a pretty small band, right? We're like 23.5 degrees is our current tilt, and we only go back and forth a couple of degrees.
When you say tilt, you mean so Earth is spinning around in a like a top?
Yeah.
And it's not like directly up and down.
Yes.
It's like a little off and so like the top spins a lot and the bottom spins less.
So like relative to our orbital plane, right?
Okay,
the
flat,
axis, it intersects that at like a 23 degree
got it.
angle to the normal, right?
Made it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's what I'm talking about. The wobble of the top is precession, but how far the top is tilted over is obliquity.
Okay.
Yeah. So the obliquity of our planet, I have seen proposed, without a moon, could be as much as 45 degrees, which is insane.
I don't know why it's insane, but the way you're phrasing it makes it sound insane.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yeah, what would happen?
Let me put it this way. You know how there's certain latitudes that in the winter are dark for weeks straight and in the summer are light? Do you want to guess what latitude those are at?
I wouldn't even know where to start.
I'll give you a hint. I told you that our obliquity is 23.5 degrees.
Okay, so 23 latitude?
Well, sort of, but opposite. So 90 minus 23, so so 66.5 degrees. So anything above 66.5 degrees from the equator or below that, because we start at 0 at the equator and then in either direction.
Work our way up and down.
Yeah, exactly. So, or below 66.5 degrees south. In the summer, gets endless daylight. In the winter, endless darkness. Now, if the Earth's tilt is 45 degrees, do you want to guess what latitude that happens at? This is some easy math.
Yeah, okay, but where I grew up, you could drive to the 45th parallel.
Yeah.
In like mid-Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, Canada.
Do you want to hear some major cities that are above the 45th parallel?
Yeah, please.
London, Paris, Berlin, Seattle, Montreal, Budapest, Zurich. All those places would get continuous darkness during the winter and continuous sunlight in the summer.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And super indirect sunlight during like the shoulder seasons, right?
Yeah.
Because you're tilted away. And when you're tilted away, the sun hits the atmosphere at an angle and it doesn't get as warm as it like in the summer, we're leaning more toward like the northern hemisphere is leaning more toward the sun and thus we get a nice warm summer.
Yeah.
But if it weren't, we'd be like swinging temperatures. It'd be wild.
It would be quite a lot. So we would get like localized ice ages and the climate would be insane. And the tilt would go back and forth between different, obliquities a lot more frequently. It wouldn't be nearly as stable. So you'd get absolute havoc on the climate if there was no moon stabilizing our orbit. And then add to that the impact it has on tides, which is probably where most people's brains went first when you say, like, what if no moon?
Yeah, you're like, oh, there's no weather, there's no tides, whatever.
Yeah, everybody knows that the moon plays a major role in causing the tides on the Earth, right? And if it were gone, there would still be some tidal forces at work because the sun also contributes to the tidal bulges. Like when the moon and the sun are in a line with the Earth, you get what's called spring tides.
Yeah,
king
tides, right?
Yeah, and then when the moon is perpendicular to the Earth and sun, forms like a 90-degree angle with them, then you get neap tides where the tides are smallest. If we had no moon, our spring tides would be like a quarter as big as they are now. So much, much, much smaller. And tidal movement also plays an important role in moving energy throughout the world and kind of driving currents and moving warm water around. So without these tides, you get more extreme differences of climate where just certain areas are, warming up and other areas are staying cold. So it's really a climate disaster without the moon. It's quite quite bad if life even exists in the first place. So yeah, that's what would happen if no moon had ever formed around us. Possibly there's no life, no tectonic plate movement, extreme seasons and weather, and major differences in tides. And also our days could be way, way, way shorter.
6 hours.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't get anything done. But would that mean that, like, oh, well, a whole week we could have in, like, just what would be a few days now?
Yeah,
Hey,
it would be a lot shorter, right? If days were 4 times faster.
but our year would be the same length.
Right, so there would be a lot more
probably
days.
Approximately. We're not calculating the momentum that Thea would have imparted to Proto-Earth when it hit, depending on where it hit from or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I have
let's
no
assume
idea where Earth was.
It hit it in such a way that imparted minimal momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
no way to
still
know that.
debating over whether, when Thea hit, if it created like a big dust cloud that then accreted into the moon, or pretty much immediately there was a moon within a few hours. Like they're still modeling all that to try and come to some conclusion. And the Artemis missions that are going to go to the lunar South Pole are also going to collect more minerals to help try and resolve some of these questions about how exactly the moon formed, because all the Apollo missions are from kind of like the same-ish area.
What might have been the result of not having tectonic plates, not having earthquakes, the volcanic activity, all that kind of stuff, like on this Earth that doesn't have all that energy going on below the surface? What would that be like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the reason the moon looks so scarred and pockmarked is because it doesn't have that tectonic movement that's constantly like refreshing the Earth's crust and everything. So like the Earth has that ability to make new Earth and subduct old Earth and kind of renew itself. And also it would have a major effect on like speciation and stuff, right? Because if there's no tectonic plate movement, you don't get the drifting continents that we have now.
Which force a lot of
Right.
evolutionary changes too over time. You like get and two animals that are separate, but they used to be one thing. You need those barriers and those disasters in order to do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on some level.
Exactly.
That's really neat.
And we talked a little bit about the human impact, right? I don't know necessarily explicitly about menstruation, but I did also think like there's a lot of cultures that have a lunar calendar central to them. I'm thinking like people who are Muslim, or the Chinese calendar, or tons and tons of like humans have like looked up at the moon and used it as an important reference point for timekeeping and for, aspects of their culture. That would just be gone.
Yeah,
so
they would have probably done the stars instead, which would be much easier to see all the time.
That's also true. Yeah, that big bright object of the moon would washes out the stars when it's a full moon, so it would like be constantly having a new moon. And on the other side, talking about evolutionary impacts, a lot of nocturnal animals that hunt by moonlight would just not be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So they would have to have different strategies.
They would have had to evolve in a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, it would fundamentally change life on our planet.
Yeah, massively.
It kind of makes me think the other big question that we've been focused on probably forever is like, is there other life out there? Or was there, and it's no longer here? But now I'm thinking, well, there's a second question. If we find life on Mars, if we find life on Europa, or evidence of life, then there's an even bigger question, which is like, how did it form? Like, if the moon might have been so important in the development of life here on Earth, what were the factors at play that might lead to life on Mars, Europa, or wherever we might find it? And that's also a really interesting question, because it makes me think if there is life out there, there might be a unique set of circumstances beyond just like water that led to that life forming.
Yeah, right now we've just got the one data point of us. If we found life on Europa, we have 2 data points, and now we can be like, okay, where's the overlap? They both had heat, they both had these organic minerals, but Europa didn't have this and still got life, and we thought that was really important to life, and maybe it's not. Now we don't know. It's a learned question. Or maybe life is more able to, there's so many reasons why we want to find life in other places, not just to be like, we're no longer alone. That's the big philosophical one, but just like how and why questions that are just, we just are like, we make a bunch of assumptions based on what we see. And
You can imagine that is the way we answer the question of how does non-life become life. We need more data points.
yeah,
Beyond
definitely.
just Earth.
Yeah, for sure.
And if we don't get those data points, boy, will that be a bummer.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, we'll need so many sex robots to make us feel whole again.
Well, I think that's a good place to end.
Well, wow, that was absurd.
But elaborate.
It was elaborate.
Yeah, you
Thanks
both,
for sticking around.
I think a lot of elaboration.
Yeah, I really liked it. So, Ali, thanks so much for coming on That's Absurd. Please elaborate. You're like our
so
second
much.
guest.
Oh my gosh, that was a ton of fun. I learned in answering my question. I learned in hearing your answers. That was a lot of fun. A lot more learning than usually happens on my whatever day this is we're recording.
I don't know. My lunar calendar doesn't work anymore, so I have no clue.
All right, well, y'all out in the listening verse, please enjoy your whatever day it is. Enjoy your Thursday. And thanks a lot for listening. Ali, where can people find you if they want to, learn all about what you do out there in the world?
Yeah, so I make a lot of YouTube videos. If you go to youtube.com/@Dr. Ali, DRALI, that'll get you to me. I've also got a podcast called Inside Voices with Dr. Ali. You can find that wherever you like to do your podding. Open those pod bay doors and just let me in into your ears, and I will be there. And I make a lot of stuff about mental health, about how it is, understanding it, how we can share our stories about mental health with other people, and how we can kind of show up for the people in our lives and be there and do good.
Thanks for listening to that rerun episode of Ali, Mattu, and the Missing Moon from the very early days of our podcast. As we've said, you can submit a question by looking for a form in the show notes for us to answer on a future episode. There's a website, that'sabsurdshow.com. You can go there to ask it. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com, or you can call us at 302-TAPE-SHOW, TAPESHO. Also, thank you to any Patreon subscribers who have joined. We love all of you, and we could not do this show without you. So thank you for providing for the show. We do this just for you all. And thanks for voting on all of the polls of all the great questions that we have coming in from our listeners. We are airing those questions as soon as we can. So thanks again for voting on those.
A thank you also to our absurd administrators, Les and Adam, over on the Patreon. If you like the show, don't forget you can leave us a review. So if you're not just, telling people around the dinner table today about this goofy podcast that you like very much, you can tell strangers on the internet with stars, hearts, words, really whatever rating system is convenient and befitting for the platform.
How many placentas would you give our podcast?
I mean, a placenta is so valuable. I think just one is all it really needs.
I think at least one, maybe two, one for each of us.
Aww.
Yeah.
We each get our own placenta.
Yeah.
Again.
That's nice. Again.
For the second time in our lives.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird thought. Okay. Anyway, also special thanks to those listening on Nebula. Nebula listeners get access to ad-free versions of episodes, and they support us and other wonderful independent creators. You can join Nebula by going to go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow.
And as we say at the end of every episode, don't time travel with a placented chicken. Would that just be an egg?
With a chicken placenta. Yeah, that is just an egg.
It's an egg.
Yeah, I guess
Don't
it's
time
fine.
travel with
You
an
know
egg.
what? We're gonna loosen the rules on time travel. It's fine to time travel with a chicken placenta. There.
Yeah, just an egg. Just,
Wait, they don't have a. It's different. They wouldn't have one.
This seems like something we should research before we
This
say
is
it live
we
on
shouldn't
the-
have
on
just
the
winged
show.
it.
Anyway, have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you are celebrating that. If you're not celebrating that, have a wonderful day. And thanks for
We
listening.
did no research. It's our week off.
Yeah. See you
Yeah,
later.
it's fine.
Bye.